You're watching Camnet TV, not just another channel. Welcome to our news. The headlines. Government backtracks on its earlier insistence to reopen schools on the 18th of January. Ministry of Labour threatens to de-register the Consolidated Miners and Allied Workers Union of Zambia. COVID-19 kills 13 Zambians in the last 24 hours as the nation records a further 1,478 positive cases. In international news, vote counting underway in Uganda elections as Bobi Wine disputes provincial results by the country's electoral body. And in sports news, LUMWANA Radiants are slowly avoiding relegation. For the details, join me shortly after this break.
2021 is finally here. Zambia is at the crossroads heading towards general elections this August. In the world where fake news, biased reporting on national issues has become the order of the day, in a world where social media in most cases spills lies and exaggerated information, insightful coverage, Zambia needs one media. Living in a country where people are slowly promoting tribalism, hatred, bitterness and revenge, political temperature is heating up and people's hearts are perplexed. Zambia needs one media. Zambia being a Christian nation living under the lordship of Jesus Christ, the nation cannot afford a compromised gospel. Zambia needs a prophetic media house. For hope, peace and unity, Zambia needs Camnet television for non-biased, factual reporting, balanced opinion, accurate news coverage. Zambia needs Camnet television for national projects and development of our beloved country Zambia. Watch Camnet TV on channel 274 DSTV, channel 98 on GOVT and channel 106 on Topstar. Remember, Camnet TV is not just another channel
that you can advertise for as low as 150 kwacha for 30 seconds. Well, Msika is here. Advertise on Msika between 17 hours and 18 hours. Just tell us about the services that you offer and we'll gladly put you on the market. For more details, you can contact
+260 953 995099. +260 962 444 726 or +260 971 177 467.
Msika, allowing your business to grow.
With the details, my name is Liseli Kanyanga. Despite government through General Education Permanent Secretary Jobix Kalumba's insistence that schools will reopen on the 18th of January 2021 amid concerns from other stakeholders in the view of the continued rise in COVID-19 cases, President Edgar Lungu has instead chipped in to delay their reopening. Dr. Kalumba informed the nation that going by experience, schools are the most safest places for pupils to be in, but the president says to safeguard the lives of pupils and teachers from the deadly pandemic, schools will only reopen after health modalities are put in place. More in this report.
On Monday, the 11th of January 2021, Minister of General Education Permanent Secretary Dr. Jobix Kalumba disclosed that the ministry was going to maintain its position and schools will reopen on the 18th of January 2021 despite the country recording more COVID-19 cases in recent weeks. He was on firm ground that the school calendar was not going to be disturbed by the COVID-19.
And we are grateful, we are satisfied that from those guidelines that we provided, we achieved, we recorded success. No child died, no student died. And it was the same COVID. Yes, it could be another spike, but it's the same COVID. No one died. And for us, we are going to use the same background. We are going to use the same formula. Please have the belief in the education system. Our teachers, our men and women on the ground have done the best. In school, we have order, and that order will be maintained. We shall comply with what the Ministry of Health has already provided us, and that is our evidence of experience. All is well. 18th January, we are opening the schools.
Now, following his announcement, divergent views emerged on the matter. Looking at the prevailing rise in the COVID-19 cases during the second wave of the pandemic, with health authorities warning that the huge gatherings are fueling the rise, hence reopening schools was being discouraged by some stakeholders. Today, 6 teachers' unions held a press briefing on Friday in which they expressed concern on the preparedness of the Ministry of General Education ahead of the reopening of schools on Monday, the 18th of January 2021, amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Representing the 6 teachers' union, the Secondary School Teachers Union of Zambia, SISTU's General Secretary, proposed that the ministry consider reopening schools on the 1st of February 2021 so as to allow schools and parents to adequately prepare.
Issues to do with these vaccines are not matters of the Ministry of Education, and they are not matters of the teacher unions.
We call upon government and the Ministry of Education and all the stakeholders that work with the Ministry of Education to consider putting in place the measures that we've categorically stated as guided by the Ministry of Health before schools open. I also want to point to the fact that we strongly feel, as GS said, that schools, the opening of schools be extended to 1st February because there is nothing that we are seeing on the ground. If we did see these things on the ground, we are not going to shy away to state that schools reopen.
An hour after the appeal, the head of state, President Edgar Lungu, responded to their call and directed that all schools reopen on the 1st of February, rendering Dr. Kalumba's stance irrelevant. President Edgar Lungu has also directed the Ministry of General Education and Higher Education in conjunction with the Ministry of Health and local government to be on top of things and ensure that all schools are ready for opening on the 1st of February 2021. Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Zambia has recorded 13 deaths associated to COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. The total number of deaths has now reached 527. The country has further recorded 1,478 new positive cases out of 10,054 tests done. The country's total COVID-19 cases stands at 749,242. 293 patients are currently hospitalized, while a further 9,353 are currently under community management, bringing the total number of people under treatment at 9,646. Moving on in the news, police in Lusaka have picked up a semi-decomposed body of a man identified as Bernard Zulu. Mr. Zulu was discovered dead in his house by some of his neighbors after observing a strong stench from his house. His neighbors tell Camnet TV News that Mr. Zulu was last seen on Sunday, the 10th of January 2021. We would like to warn our sensitive viewers that the pictures you are about to see may be disturbing. Details in this report.
This is the decomposed body of a man only identified as Bernard Zulu of Lusaka's Garden House compound. He was discovered by his neighbors in the afternoon of Friday in this state in his own house. The scent coming out from his house is what led the neighbors to become curious and check on him, only to find him in this situation. His neighbors, who are still shocked and saddened by his death, disclosed that the last time they saw him was on Sunday, the 10th of January 2021.
Okay.
Pasande kwa pasande mazoka tinete vinashtika ndawa derejista kauka aboti posho kumaka bwanje so chabi aende nake so chabi
uyu muntu ni muziva ni mwana wa family friend tizonkhala naye mkomboni nambira chabati anasowa pa Sunday so stiza chanchina mpaya kuti nichani otherwise Saturday vitinze naye sinaonana na hivi
The cause of his death is not yet known, but some of the neighbors suspect his death is associated with his love for alcohol.
Moba balumendo omugadde bazasira bonse chifukwa cha moba bakumwa moba sibakudya. So ichamecha mpaya, I'm sure chikuru maningi ni moba chifukwa pa Sunday netenzeri na hivi zana bwera kunyumba. So manje kuchoka pamene yapo sinamone na futi na mulire onde pametambira tiafa. Leo na mwamina afera chabe na pamina pezeka chabe chifukwa semenzeni muntu wa mpamvu at least mapesika kupogona manje apesika chabe yakwa pansi. So moba bantu wa mugadeni moba wachiramo moba balumendo bazasira na moba. Na isendesha meta dabo chifukwa panyumba pamina nkara ni pa family. Pari mugodi, pari pondi, pa family tufunika kutiba checking akuti muntu alipwani. So aposhana no poshana. Bafunika chabe clean.
The area councillor had this to say.
Just this afternoon I received a phone call from the CIO, Mr. Kampamba, from Garden Police Post, to say there's a decomposed body in Garden, that is Gabon area. As the area councillor rushed to the scene, and really it's a decomposed body which is directly from here you have to take it to Chumwele cemetery. Sadly indeed that the report shall come out after further investigation by the secretary. My views, the general public, even the neighborhood, please this lane, Ushana Poshana Common in the morning. But it's sadly that a decomposed body, neighbors, there's some people who cannot even say hi, who cannot say good morning to a neighbor. As a councillor, I come to say let's work together, let's unite, let's love one another.
Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Now, the Ministry of Finance says a sum of above 4.2 million kwacha has been funded back to the state by former cabinet and deputy ministers who remained in office between May and August 2016 after Parliament was dissolved. Ministry of Finance Accountant General Kennedy Musonda says this represents a 99.3% recovery rate. A total sum of about 4.3 million was owed to the state by the said former government officials. Mr. Musonda has indicated in a statement to the media that the outstanding balance is now at 29,448 kwacha only. He says from the total repaid amount, about 2.6 million was made through bulk deposits, while the other amount came from individuals. The Accountant General says the Finance Minister, Dr. Walyangandu, will again update the nation once the outstanding balance is paid in full. On Thursday, 14th January 2021, Finance Minister Walyangandu told the nation that his ministry has not received any money that was claimed by Patriotic Front Secretary General Davis Mwila that his party officials had paid for its party members who owed the state money. And moving on in the news, an organization calling itself Political Science Association of Zambia has demanded that the Electoral Commission of Zambia, in consultation with political stakeholders, come up with a fresh legal mandate on how the forthcoming general elections will be held amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Association President Joe Ndambwa says there is need for ECZ and all political players to clearly spell out the COVID-19 response now as opposed to a month before elections, as that creates mistrust among stakeholders. Mr. Ndambwa says they will be engaging political parties to get their views on how best campaigns can be held under the COVID-19 new normal. Details in this report.
This year will certainly be a busy year for the Electoral Commission of Zambia as recommendations continue to escalate on various issues surrounding the electoral process. And this year will be unique as the country will be holding elections under the new circumstances owing to the global COVID-19 pandemic. Political Science Association of Zambia President John Ndambwa has demanded that the ECZ, in consultation with political stakeholders, comes up with a fresh mandate on how the forthcoming general elections will be held amid the COVID-19 pandemic.
We demand for a fresh legal framework that specifically deals with elections during this period. We believe that such a legal framework before elections period. Such a legal framework must be put in place before the election campaign are in full swing. And this legal framework must be publicized in all media outlets so that the public and other electoral stakeholders must know how to conduct themselves during the political campaigns. Therefore, if stakeholders are to have a clear understanding of the changes in the electoral process due to COVID-19, the legal framework must be put in place now. Our experience in election as political scientists is that electoral rules must be changed at least 6 months before elections day. Bringing new rules a few days before the elections day usually affects the integrity of the electoral process.
Mr. Ndambwa says they will be engaging political parties to get their views on how campaigns will be held under the COVID-19 new normal.
We therefore call upon political parties to quickly institute this dialogue and find a way in which election campaigns can be conducted in such an environment. This association will reach out to Secretary Generals of political parties having representation in the National Assembly and discuss issues pertaining to campaigns under COVID-19.
He has also called for the enactment of the Political Parties Bill in order to provide a legal framework for political parties. However, he stated that the bill can be enacted after the 2021 general elections upon building consensus.
Understand that the current institutional framework does not allow political parties to disclose their sources of funding. We as political scientists believe that they are guided by one rule, the golden rule of anonymity. We are encouraging political parties to join hands in coming up with a political parties bill, which we believe is already on discussion papers, that will not only streamline their operations, but also ensure that the public have enough information about the management and financial operations of institutions that govern them or those that intend to govern them.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
The Solwezi Municipal Council has rehabilitated the Mutanda Kivuki Bridge at a total cost of 63,473 kwacha, using local resources to ensure accessibility in the area. The scope of the works encompassed building a third pillar and increasing the heights of the existing pillars using bricks and pieces of stone stuck together with cement. The bridge surface was then created using logs. Prior to the rehabilitation of the bridge, locals had difficulties in crossing to the other side of the bridge as it was in a deplorable state due to heavy rains. The works have since successfully been completed within the duration of 4 months from August to December 2020. Community members were engaged in the rehabilitation process to ensure ownership while creating jobs for the locals. We take our first set of commercials. Do stay with us as we have more interesting stories lined up for you.
The Cowbell Choco formula has been stolen. Get it back at all costs.
Tasting Cowbell Choco gives you the get up and go to be at the top of your game. Now with Vitality Plus Iron. Great tasting Cowbell Choco, a creamy chocolatey drink that helps give energy to get up and go.
Can I have that meal over there? And I really want that crispy, fresh apple taste from the garden. Can I have the apple?
I think I'll have my big bite 2 meal with happy waziwaka. Enjoy an appetizing big bite meal with an Appy drink of your choice. A meal is not a meal without an Appy drink. And now introducing Appy in a can.
Dr. Bigron, musaibala komutienda okuni gift na land. Uchenkubeti uibise mojo basayone. Oh! Mwina moshi, nakuletera njinga. Latest inaluvesigia na mawaipa.
Difficult dia shidia njinga. Liam 19 pendef kondo. Transport, we got it.
Nanga phone for communication. Ipu sana chizungu. Yeah, you see what I mean?
It's a Camnet, difficult.
It's communication. We got it. Inemomi! Powerful system ndimba X-Buzz.
Mufumile kukalale. Na mnaemo muli bakumushi. We got it. Yo Bikron, utola inoleta nchemfule mungani. Ngecho wachira pose na nchitinshi. 1, 2, 3, both of you. Kabala ngempang. Don't be stupid. We got it.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We continue with the news. The Ministry of Labour and Social Security has threatened to deregister the Consolidated Miners and Allied Workers Union of Zambia in the next 3 months. Labour Commissioner GOVT Mutengwa says this is for the unwillful violations of the Labour Act and failure to comply with the constitutional requirements of the union. Mr. Mutengwa says the union has failed to hold a quadriennial conference and fill up vacant positions as encompassed by the union's constitution, despite several reminders from the Labour Commission. He has since given the union a 3-month notice in line with Section 12 of the Industrial and Labour Relations Act to show cause why the union should not be deregistered. Meanwhile, Mr. Mutengwa says the ministry has sanctioned and will supervise the forthcoming elective quadriennial conference for the Agriculture, Technical and Professional Staff Union of Zambia. He says the holding of the quadriennial conference has been sanctioned following the determination by the Court of Appeal that Joe Kamutumwa was wrongfully removed from office. In the matter, Hacholi Makondo and others versus Attorney General and Joe Kamutumwa, the court directed that some union members who were in management vacate their union positions. The Labour Commission has emphasized that the list of delegates to attend the conference will be drawn in accordance with the constitution of the union and ensure compliance of necessary laws. This is contained in a statement made available to the media. And still in the news, Zitukule Consortium Executive Director Nicholas Piri has described as retrogressive calls by some civil society organizations advocating for stiffer restrictions on foreign electoral observers amid the COVID-19 pandemic. The Democracy and Motherland Defenders Coalition has called ECZ to impose strict measures on electoral observers coming from countries highly affected by COVID-19, such as the US and EU member states. But Mr. Piri says such maneuvers are part of a ploy to undermine the credibility of the August 12th general elections. He regrets that at a time when stakeholders are making efforts to restore public confidence in the electoral process, some civil society organizations are making recommendations that have the potential to undermine the little existing integrity. Mr. Piri notes that Zambia has not imposed any restriction on entry into the country, hence the people are free to enter the country. He says the statements targeted at foreign electoral observer missions and diplomats are a recipe for anarchy and must not be entertained in a democratic state like Zambia. Mr. Piri has since urged the Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ, not to entertain malicious statements.
At a time that stakeholders must be working to build the electoral confidence in our electoral management system in the country, some stakeholders are putting forth recommendations that have potential to completely undermine even the little electoral integrity that we have retained. It is disappointing that people could suggest the to the Electoral Commission of Zambia not to accredit observer missions that are coming from countries ravaged by COVID-19. Zambia has not imposed any stringent movements in terms of inflows into the country from any foreign nation, but also we as a country have now been reclassified as a high-risk area in terms of COVID-19 cases. And so we cannot use the excuse of COVID-19 to deny the entry and accreditation of international foreign missions to come and observe our 2021 general election. The purpose of having international observer missions is to ensure that you are transparent, you are open, and you are accountable in the manner in which your elections are being conducted.
A 34-year-old man of Chipepo area in Kapirimposhi district of Central Province, identified as Wina Muwowo, has murdered his father, identified as 70-year-old John Muwowo. The man has been killed on suspicion of practicing witchcraft. Brother to the alleged killer Samuel Muwowo, reported the matter to the police. According to police spokesperson Esther Mwata Katongo, in a statement, the killer is said to have used an axe to kill his own father, who sustained a deep cut on his head. Meanwhile, police in Chililawombwe have arrested a male adult identified as Charles Piri, aged 24, in connection with the murder of Stanislaus Chalwe Makofi, aged 38, of Zambia compound.
In Kabwe, we are looking for male adult Wina Muwowo in connection with the murder of his father, who is alleged to have murdered on suspicion of practicing witchcraft. An axe was allegedly used in the act, and the victim sustained a deep cut on the head. The incident is reported to have occurred on 14th January 2021 at about 16:30 hours. The suspect is on the run after leaving a suicide note indicating that he was going to commit suicide. However, a manhunt has been launched. In Chililawombwe, we have arrested a male adult identified as Charles Piri, age 24, in connection with the murder of Stanislaus Chalwe Makofi, aged 38, of Zambia compound. The incident is reported to have occurred when the deceased was alleged to have stolen 4 plastic chairs, and upon being apprehended by the person who is now the suspect in the murder case, he was beaten up and later taken to police, and was with a deep cut on the forehead, and was also complaining of general body pains. Police rushed the victim to Kakoso Hospital for medical attention, where he later died a few hours later. His body is in the mortuary waiting post-mortem, while the suspect has been detained in police custody and is yet to be charged with murder. In Indola, we received a report of incest which occurred between January 2015 and 10th January 2021, in which a female adult of Pamozi reported on behalf of her cousin, aged 16 years, that she was being sexually abused by her biological grandfather, aged 70 years. And the recent one being on 10th January 2021, as police, we have instituted investigations in the matter. Then in Kitwe, police have arrested a female adult identified as Dorothy Sakala, alleged to have assaulted her ex-husband by the names of Blessings Kasongo, age 32, of Chimwemwe Township, by pouring hot water on him. This is reported to have happened when the victim went to his ex-wife's house to warn her to stop going to his house. This infuriated the suspect, who poured hot water on him. He sustained burns on the left side of the face, left shoulder, and on the back, on his back. He is currently admitted to Kitwe Teaching Hospital, whilst the accused person is in police custody.
The Examination Council of Zambia, ECZ, has launched an online payment gateway and an online verification of results system meant to ease access to the council services. Ministry of Education Permanent Secretary Joe Kalumba says the launch of the payment gateway will promote the Smart Zambia initiative and meet stakeholders' needs as well as operation costs on the council. Mr. Kalumba, who was represented by ECZ Director Standards and Curriculum, Ms. Priska Simokonda, says the launch of the system responds to the global challenge of COVID-19, where movements and human interaction have been minimized. Meanwhile, Infratel Zambia Chief Executive Officer Freelance Walia says businesses are quickly embracing digital transformation, leveraging digital technologies to ensure service continuity beyond the business brick and mortar offices which are being disrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic. And Director in charge of Examination Council, Mr. Michael Chilala, says ECZ is working on ensuring that the payment system applies to other examination classes in the country.
Technology is slowly shaping the world and changing our ways of life, from the way we interact to the way we do business, and embracing this technology is a must if we are to move with time. The Examination Council of Zambia, ECZ, has launched an online payment gateway and an online verification of results system meant to ease access to its services. COVID-19 has presented a global challenge on how we interact, and that the launch of the gateway payment system can never come at the right time than this.
The payment gateway is a new electronic solution that allows you to make payments online via a secure portal at your convenience. The system has been integrated to allow candidates to pay for services offered by Examination Council of Zambia using various platforms such as Visa and mobile money.
And Examination Council of Zambia Director in charge of examinations, Michael Chilala, says the launch of the platform will allow institutions like colleges and universities verify result of candidate online without necessarily waiting on the council to verify.
When it comes to candidate registration, we have started with the grade 12 internal, which is a school certificate exam, and the grade 9 internal candidates. These candidates will be able to, their details will be captured, and then the system will be able to invoice them, and then they will decide whether they want to walk into a bank and pay, or they will decide whether to pay using mobile money or using Visa.
Mr. Chilala also says the council is working at ensuring the service is accessed by other examination classes.
And we'll be able in the years to come, starting 2022, to extend this online payment gateway to all other levels of examinations, and we are hoping to innovate more in terms of other systems and services.
And Infratel Chief Executive Officer Freelance Wadia says he is happy that a local company was consulted in the development of the gateway system.
The launch of the Council's online systems integrated to Infratel payment gateway is timely, considering that there are restrictions on person-to-person contact which have been triggered by COVID-19 pandemic. Businesses now are quickly embracing digital transformation, leveraging digital technologies to assure service continuity beyond the business brick and mortar offices which are being disrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Leveraging digital technology in a digital changing world is key at keeping business moving. Prudence Chota for Camnet TV News.
The leadership movement has observed with concern that there are limited tangible women empowerment schemes in the country, thereby undermining their availability to effectively contribute to national development. Party President Richard Silombe says he will not wait to form government in order to safeguard the plight of women in the country. He says his party has since rolled out the empowerment program targeting women in vulnerable communities across the country. He has told Camnet TV News that his party has been forced to roll out the Women Empowerment Program on understanding that every woman can contribute towards development.
My heart bleeds when I see women, disadvantaged women, vulnerable women, languishing in the streets. Others are begging, others are moving from house to house looking for clothes they can wash. This is not what we expect to have in a normal country. We as leadership movement, we want to help Zambian women to earn their dignity. We want to ensure that these women are put at the center stage of development. We know that every Zambian has something to contribute to the development of this country, rich or poor, disabled or not disabled. And we know that our Zambian women, they have a lot to contribute to the development of this country. First of all, these are our mothers. These are the people who bear the future generation. These are the people who need the most dignity in the country. And we as leadership movement, we want to take care of our women in society. We are ensuring that our women participate in adding value to this country.
Lusaka Magistrate Tandosa Chabala has set the 5th of March 2021 as trial date in a case in which Patriotic Front PF Lusaka Province Youth Chairperson Daniel Kalembe is accused of assaulting PF self-proclaimed National Commander Innocent Kalimanchi and Nathan Piri using a Castle Light bottle. In this case, Kalembe is on the 12th of March 2020 accused of assaulting Kalimanchi and Nathan Piri and causing them actually bodily harm. The incident is alleged to have occurred during the Youth Day commemorations when the accused asked the latter to leave, but they refused to heed to his directive and told him that they were waiting for President Lungu to deliver a speech. However, Kalembe is alleged to have left the premises only to come back with a group of cadres while holding a bottle in his hand and later attacked Kalimanchi and Nathan. Kalembe's case on a Friday morning failed to take off as the magistrate holding the case was not before the court. We take our second set of commercials. Do stay with us as we have international and sports news. Don't go away.
And why do you look so pale and busy scratching yourself?
You know my skin is very sensitive. I've tried all the skin products and nothing seems to work.
Have you tried Oracle Pure Glycerin?
Oracle Pure Glycerin? What's that?
Just give me a minute.
Oracle Pure Glycerin gives your skin a youthful and healthy glow.
Ish, you're glowing. Don't tell me.
Yes!
I already know the secrets.
Oracle Pure Glycerin!
Try Oracle Pure Glycerin for that perfect skin.
From time immemorial, we have had different types of lighting options, from those that can burn down our investments in minutes to those that dig holes in our pockets due to constant replacement and huge consumption of our ZESCO units. Savenda Electric introduces the new and advanced electric bulb with cutting-edge technology of LED that has low power consumption, gives out bright white light, and lasts up to 25,000 hours. Savenda Electric manufactures all types of LED light, like plastic LED fluorescent tubes, down lights, ceiling lights, outdoor fittings, and solar street lights made to customer specifications. Let's live on the bright side of life by choosing the wide range of Savenda electric lighting solutions that are available in all leading stores and supermarkets countrywide. For orders, call 0962 642 490 or email jnbunda@savenda.com or pchabula@savenda.com.
We all miss the days we would play outside, go to school, and visit fun places. But now, we all have to take care to prevent the coronavirus. Viruses are really tiny particles that we can't see with just our eyes, so we need to keep ourselves safe by practicing good hygiene, such as washing our hands with soap and clean water regularly. We can also use hand sanitizer to keep our hands clean. It's also important for us to keep our bodies and surroundings clean. We must also avoid handshakes, hugs, and standing close to other people in public places. This is called social distancing. The coronavirus has affected millions of people around the world, so we need to stay safe. In the meantime, we can keep ourselves busy by reading a book, watching TV, and doing some schoolwork. There's so much we can do indoors. Stay safe, stay home, and prevent COVID-19. We're all in this together.
This advert is sponsored by the Zambia Revenue Authority, ZRA. My tax, your tax, our destiny.
Thank you so much for staying with us in international news. Bobi Wine has regretted electoral results of, Bobi Wine has rejected electoral results of Uganda's 14th January 2021 presidential election and has since declared himself president-elect. Bobi Wine, whose real names are Robert Kyagulanyi, says the current rigging is the worst in the history of Uganda. He says the struggle to liberate Uganda has just begun. He said this when he addressed the press in view of the ongoing vote counting. Results from 23.9% of all polling stations show President Museveni getting a sizable early lead from over 65% of the votes cast. Museveni has 65.02%, while his main rival Robert, popularly known as Bobi Wine, has scored 27.39% from 8,310 polling stations.
I am very confident that we defeated the dictator by far. I call upon all Ugandans to reject the blackmail. We have certainly won this election and we've won it by far. General Museveni and his small clique of oppressors are trying yet again to impose themselves on the people of Uganda. The people of Uganda will and must reject the blatant usurpation of their will and their voice. I want to ask all Ugandans to remain firm and confident that through this election we have spoken and we have spoken.
Voting in some polling stations started late because of delays in the delivery of voting materials. At this station on the outskirts of Kampala, people waited patiently for an hour before they could cast their ballots.
One thing, we are disappointed on the way the government has handled the whole process. You know that the internet is not working and everything is down.
President Yoweri Museveni voted in Western Uganda. He has previously warned some opposition politicians and electoral commission officials against what he described as attempts to rig the election. Some opposition leaders, including Bobi Wine, his strongest challenger, have sent him the same message. Wine arrived at his polling station to an enthusiastic crowd and later urged them to stay on at polling stations to monitor the process and guard their votes.
Many voters here say they just want a leadership that is going to provide them with the basics, jobs, lower taxes for small business owners, a reasonable education for their children. But these issues have been overshadowed by pre-election violence we've seen in the last few months. Police crackdown on some opposition leaders and their supporters, as well as personality politics.
Maureen Aboa, a first-time voter who sells spare parts, is disappointed that what matters to her was not well addressed in the election campaigns.
Young people are not employed. Many are forced to travel abroad to get jobs that have no dignity. They're mistreated, but they're desperate. That needs to change.
The policing of the election.
Some political analysts say candidates could not properly sell their vision to voters.
The issues in Uganda are not about ideologies. The issues in Uganda today are not about policy direction. The issues in Uganda are about a political disagreement, i.e. whether there should be change or we should have a status quo.
The Electoral Commission says final results will be declared on Saturday. The US, the European Union and civil society groups have already said the process has been tainted and lacks transparency and accountability. Many Ugandans fear there could be violence if the results are contested. Catherine Soy, Al Jazeera, Kampala.
We now get into sports news. And in sports news, Once relegation threatened, LUMWANA Radiance is slowly moving away from the relegation zone after a 1-0 victory against NAPSA Stars in a rescheduled Week 7 MTN FAR Super League game played. LUMWANA Radiance have moved in the 13th position on the league table, having played 11 games and amassing 13 points following back-to-back wins against Green Buffaloes and NAPSA Stars. NAPSA Stars have since moved in the relegation zone along with Kitwe United and Young Green Eagles. Radiant's next fixture is against the Weeping Boys Kitwe United over the weekend at Garden Park. Head coach Tenat Chembo has refused to underrate Kitwe United despite sitting at the bottom of the table, saying the team anticipates a tough match. Chembo says he will assemble a strong team to face Kitwe United. That sports item brings us to the end of the news, but before we go, a recap of the headlines. Government backtracks on its earlier insistence to reopen schools on the 18th of January. Ministry of Labour threatens to deregister the Consolidated Miners and Allied Workers Union of Zambia. COVID-19 kills 13 Zambians in the last 24 hours as the nation records a further 1,478 positive cases. In international news, vote counting underway in Uganda election as Bobi Wine disputes provisional results by the country's electoral body. And in sports news, LUMWANA Radiant slowly avoiding relegation. The Camnet World Verse of the Day is coming from the book of Proverbs 16 verse 9, and it reads, "A man's heart plans his way, but the Lord determines his steps." On behalf of the entire news production crew and myself, Liseli Kanyanga, thank you so much for watching Camnet TV News on Camnet TV, not just another channel.